Hey everybody, it is Billy at Be Tough. I have a job to do that I'm not looking forward to. In fact, I've been dreading it the entire off season, but now I am going into May and I gotta get it going. It's gonna take me a little time to do it, and that is I'm gonna change the, the damper plate or the torque plate or whatever it is, that plate that sits, I think, on the flywheel and hooks onto the transmission. The boat is like stumbling, like it wants to stall when I get on the gas, and then I can hear a rattling in there when it's at idle, right? So I think that it's gone, and I don't want it to explode because I've heard that when they explode, it's a bad deal. So here we are. We're gonna do it. It is gonna be a little bit dark because I am in my storage area here, and but we're gonna take apart. The thing is that this is gonna be in steps, and this first step is gonna be we have to prep the thing to get it out, and that is that we're gonna have to remove this back section right here, and I think to do that, this panel has to come off, and that. I was going to have it done at a boat shop. They said it's about $3,500 to $4,000. I said, get lost, dude. I ain't paying you that much. And not like that, but you take to those shops, a lot of times your stuff gets damaged. So I'm just going to do it myself. It's not rocket science, it's just time. And I definitely am going to tell you the time it takes to do it. And we'll go through all the steps needed to change your own plate. So if you're having the same issue I am, at least maybe you can do it yourself. And I got some tips. I've kind of read some things on it. So I'm going to learn along the way, and then you'll learn from my mistakes. And I'm not looking forward to this, but we got to do it, right? It's part of having an OG Malibu boat. Sometimes you got to work on them, and here we are. We're going to work on them. Anyway, let's get started. Changing out that plate on a 2008 Malibu VLX. So the easy thing is I'm going to take all these seats out right here and put them in a place where they won't get damaged. And that's kind of like what I really want to be careful of, is not to damage upholstery, dude. I've gone to Gabe up in Outwater a few times. He's the best Malibu guy I know, and I kind of dread driving all the way there, and they have my boat and all that stuff. So it is tricky because this is a one-piece molded piece, and you can't pull that trans out without moving this. One thing I will show you what I'm going to do here. Let's see here. I'm going to open this up. Okay. So someone said, well, they said, the people at the boat shop, oh, we got to pull the motor out. And I was like, God, man, you got to pull the motor out, because then you got to take everything apart, right? And I don't want to do that. But someone said, no, all you got to do is get like a 4x4 and lay it on top of this beam, these two beams right here, and then get yourself some ratchet straps, and that will pull the back of the motor up enough where you can pull the transmission out. I'm really hoping that works, but that will save me a ton of time because I don't have a cherry picker. I'd have to find somebody. Now we're getting a lot of stuff pulling that motor out, you know, getting the exhaust off and all that stuff. I don't want to get into that. So hopefully that will save me some time. All right, so as we look in here, one of the things we're going to have to do is take this floorboard out. This piece has to come out, okay? So that has to come out, and then we're going to take these off because I have to have this out right here, and that's going to be complicated. I am going to have to remove the fuel cell, or at least push it forward. I'm not going to remove it. I'm just going to push it forward. I wish I would have burned some more fuel out of it. I think I got about a half tank in there, which is kind of heavy. But yeah, we're going to have to do that. Disconnect this, take the floorboard out. It's definitely going to be a procedure. So as we get to it, I'm probably going to have to siphon some fuel out. I think it's going to be too heavy. I mean, it's probably, I don't know how many gallons these hold, but it's a lot. And then the piece we need is right behind here. And so, like I said, once we do that, transmission comes out, the V-drive comes out. We're gonna have to drain all the fluid out of here. And yeah, so got our work cut out for us for sure. All right, we did do our first segment of getting that back piece out. It's about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes to get that out. Just be real careful. I would also suggest, if you are taking those out, to just go get some new stainless screws, because the last thing you want is one of those stripping back in there. It's nice to have new ones in there anyway. They're not that expensive. So our next thing we're gonna do is remove this panel, I think, on both sides, and then that will allow us to remove that. All right. So the nut to take that panel off, it looks like a 7/16. It looks like they're lined up across the top. I'm not sure if I need more than that. We're gonna find out, but it does look like it's a 7/16. This is kind of tricky. There's 7/16 nuts through here. Luckily, there wasn't a bunch on here, but there's this, and then you have to take out this bar right here, It looks like a piece of carpet, and it's held on by two 7/16 nuts that you'll get by taking those out. You can actually get to one of them right here, and there's another one like right here. It sandwiches that bottom piece in. And so I'm gonna try to pull this out and see what happens. I'll let you know here in a second. Okay, I did get this off. This is super tricky. We got it. I don't know how to say it any more than that. And I'm definitely gonna clean up some wires back there since I've got it open. I heard, they told me I have to take off one side so I can swing this out. I'm not gonna completely remove this because I don't feel like taking off all the wires. So I'm just gonna kind of set it off to the side and hopefully I can get it out. I imagine there's gonna be some bolts back there and then along this back section and back there. So they said I only take one side off. I'm really hoping they're right because that was a lot of work right there. But yep, part I'm fun with the boat. So now we're getting into the dismantling of all the wiring and everything so we can access the rear bell housing. One thing I would highly suggest you do, and maybe you can use this video, I'll kind of pan around a little bit just so you know, is you definitely want to take photos of everything. That way everything kind of, you have some kind of reference on how things go back together because it can get complex. You know, I mean, this stuff's pretty basic down here, but it can get pretty complex when you're trying to figure it all out. And there's a lot of wires you have to get out of the way. I think I'm gonna have to take that plenum off on the top because I have to access this hook right here. And we're gonna lay a board on that right there and lift the back of the motor up. So that's where we're at. We're gonna try to take this piece off. These are kind of tricky. I know these go on a certain way. I think they slide off that. I have to figure that out. But that's the first piece that's gonna come off. And then I'm gonna try to get the wiring hung up somewhere so I can get it's up out of the way, you know, so I gotta cut all the zip ties and all that stuff. And yeah, not the funnest job, but oh God, gotta do it. So I undid, someone told me that I was able to, you don't have to move this thing back very much to get the clearance you need. So I did move it back just a little bit. And I am, if you come over here and you see, well, you probably can't see, but I'm butt up against the lever. So that's as far as it's going back. Someone did have a good point. If this doesn't work and there's not enough clearance to get that, and you know, I screwed up. I don't know why I thought the back part was the transmission and the front part was the V drive. I'm actually wrong. The back part is the V drive. And so it's the V drive I'm taking off the back, not the transmission part. But someone said, think about lifting it, right? That means this would come up and you lift it up if I can't get the clearance out, which is probably what I'm gonna have to do, but I don't even know if I can get that out. Like, I don't know if it'll come forward enough for me to lift it. And it's half full. I was shocked that I was able to move it back as easy as I was. I was really stoked on that because I tried to burn a bunch of fuel out of it, but by the looks of it looks like it's half full right now. So I don't know how many gallons these are. What are they? 40 gallons maybe? I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there, 36, 40 gallons. And so you're probably talking about 300 pounds but it slid back and that's good too. I didn't really want to have to take off that hose if I don't have to, just because I don't feel like dealing with the fuel going everywhere. And I already hate the smell of fuel I got right now in the boat. I did go ahead and order up some new hose lines, about $13, $14 a foot. I'm just gonna get it at the local. These ones say US Coast Guard approved, but I really don't think that you have to have that. I mean, it's just fuel line, right? I mean, there's nothing different about this than that would be in a semi or anything different, right? Other than maybe you pay a little bit extra for some labeling from somebody. But anyway, my next step here, I've got everything disconnected. I do have a ground wire I'm gonna take off there. But outside that, next step is removing the back V drive. And someone told me that if I bear hug it, I can get it out. Now, once I get, oh, you know what I need to do first? You know what? I'm overstepping. I have to take off the prop, dude. I mean, not the prop, but the prop shaft. It is on there. Oh God, I think I have to go back to my house to get an Allen. Dude, that sucks so bad. Dang it. All right, let me see. Anyway, let's work on getting that out. Someone told me if I give it a good bear hug, I should be able to get it out. I'm kind of wondering if I should drain the fluid. Fluid's not gonna pour out the front, but I don't wanna come out the vent either. Anyway, I did get carpet though. I'm gonna put carpet down here because I don't want to damage anything by, you know, setting that V drive on it. So, okay, let's go. I wanna show you something. So I am working on these bolts. These are 5/8, and then you get down here, and I think it's a 3/4 nut. I'm not even sure. It might be a 13/16, but that's a nut. But you'll think you have all these off, you'll start trying to pull this back and it won't work. There's actually 2 hidden bolts, like right under here. So before you start using a pry bar on that or trying to yank that back, just know there's 2 bolts that are pretty tight to get to. You're gonna need a small 5/8 wrench, something like this to get them. All right, so I got all the bolts off. You'll notice down here it's a stud, right? So that actually keeps that located on there. There's also down here on the very bottom, you'll see there is a small gap that you can get a screwdriver on. So I don't know if I can hold this. I don't think I can. As I say, let me see if I can get that off and I'll give you what I did and how I did it, if I can get it off. Hopefully I can. Okay, so here's what it looks like when I try to pull it back and there's just not enough room. Dang it. I'm maxed out back here. I'm up against the fuel tank and there's just no way to get that out. So I'm either gonna have to take apart those so I can slide it forward back more. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but that's not gonna be fun, whatever I decide here. Okay, I got super lucky here. I wanna show you that. So here's the pumps, right? And I was able to get it back enough by just removing the knobs. Dang it, dude. I got so lucky and it just had just enough room. And be careful too when you pull this because thing's full of transmission fluid. I probably should have drained it before I came in here. But if you tilt it forward, it's gonna go all over your boat. So just be careful with that. The good news is that's not as heavy as I thought it was gonna be. It's made out of aluminum, not cast steel. So that's a relief. Just make sure that you have it tilted up so the fluid stays towards the back and it shouldn't come out. But okay, let me see, make sure that's not going nowhere. Yeah, it's not going nowhere. Okay. Okay, here's what I came up with, or someone they used a 4x4 piece of wood, but I had a piece of 2x2 steel here, 120 wall. So here is, you can see I got a strap that goes down and hooks to the back of the motor mount, or the puller, the rear part. You still have the ones on the side, so I don't think it's going to be that much weight. Those straps hold 1,000 pounds. Usually motor weighs about 600, small block Chevy. So I think we'll be okay there. I'm worried about how much strength this can hold. I'm hoping it can hold a lot, but I don't know. We'll see. We're going to find out, right? But, okay. Let's, I guess I kind of want to loosen just the bolt holes going into the motor. Into the motor mount, and not take out those, because then it'll be positioned perfect when I set it back in. You know what I mean? It's like if I don't know. I'd like to not take those apart if I can, and just like take them off at the body mounts and then just lift the whole transmission out with the body mounts. With the rear motor mounts. So I'm gonna try. We're gonna find out. I'll let you know when I get it done for sure. Okay, I am struggling here a little bit. I can't get the belt housing disconnected from the transmission. I don't know why. I got the 4 bolts out. I've tapped on it. I don't want to trash it, but I've tapped on a little bit with a rubber mallet, nothing. You'd think it'd just pop off without, with the 4 bolt holes, not in there, but that's not the case. It's not happening. And so I got to figure that out. And then I got to figure out why this whole, so then the whole, I'm hung up here. I got to bring a bigger, I got to be able to take these off. There's a couple fittings here. I think they're water lines. They're hung up, and I think they may be keeping the transmission from going forward. I don't know. I feel like I'm hung up on something. That's the thing. It's like I've kind of looked around. I can't figure it out, but God, it's not an easy job for sure. I got it, like I said, I got it this far where I can actually see the damper plate, but it's really hard. And I'd really like to have this separated if I can, because when I go back in with this thing, you don't want to damage the damper plate, right? So, okay. Success. Now, I have something super important that I've spent a day trying to get the transmission out, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And basically what it was is there is a scatter shield plate, so you can see it back here. You can see I've been knocking it on that. I was trying to get it out, and I couldn't do it because it's at the back of the flywheel. Holy smokes. Anyway, okay. Whoa. So there you go. And the transmission's not as heavy as I thought it was either. I was just bound up, So, okay. So here's the one I took out of it, and it is the newer style that is encapsulated, right? And so that's good because then your springs don't go flying all over. But you can tell if you shake it, I don't know if you can hear this. Anyway, you have to trust me. When I shake it, I can hear like the springs jiggling around in there. So definitely not good, right? So, okay, so today was something else, but we did get it. And remember, you have your backing plate behind there, your scatter shield. There's 2 bolts, half-inch wrench will take them off. Don't forget that, or do like I do and waste half a day trying to figure out why your transmission's not coming out. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is clean this off. It's got some of that marine paint. I'm also gonna clean the threads out. I brought a tapper. And sorry, you hear the generator in the background because I'm at my garage here. There's no power, so. Anyway, we're gonna knock that out. And then I'm gonna spray it with Steel It, which is this stuff, which is super good if you've ever used it. I use it on a lot of things, and it's marine applications. So we're gonna do that. So let's get these cleaned up. Let's get this all ground off and then painted, and then we'll just let it sit for a little bit, and then we'll put the plate back on, and man, hopefully we get back to business here. You know, in all reality, I probably could have just sprayed it, but it's one of those things, right? You know it's right when you do it. And I feel like if I do this right, then I'll do everything else right, putting it all back together. So, I don't know. Don't take the easy way, I guess, right? Well, I'm really happy how this came out. Looks like brand new, to be honest with you. I did bring some of this with me, and I'm gonna blow out the holes. The ones that I, the ones that I hit with that I cleared the threads out on. So, all right, so let me work on this, get this back together. And you want to make sure too, when you put these back together, if you notice, there is a side, let's see. There's a side here that says transmission side. So these are directional, so make sure that you get it in the right way. So putting this back together, you definitely want to make sure it has some grease on it, right? You don't want to put it on there dry. Just make your life a little harder. And I also put it on down there as well. So not a ton, but just enough, right? So you can slide it on. Okay, everything's going back together pretty good. I've hit a roadblock though, even with my numbering that I did, because I remember I told you guys that you should really number your wires, and I did, but for some reason, I can't find these two, 7 and 8. And I feel like I've looked everywhere. Jeez, man. One thing that you really have to be careful with are these clips right here that go into the transmission. Make sure you number these too, because if you swap these, which you can, forward will be reverse and reverse will be forward. So, and that happened to me when they rebuilt my engine. So I did find some things that, you know, when I pulled this thing apart, the bottom transmission bolts weren't even on there, or nuts. That's kind of scary. So that's the one good thing about doing things yourself, is that generally in most cases, you're gonna do it right. And I'm trying to wire everything up like real clean too, a little bit cleaner than it was before. So, you know, it is what it is, but that's the benefit of doing things yourself. Okay, we are in the home stretch. I got everything bolted together, and it turns over. Everything's looking good so far. The hardest thing on this build so far, or replacement so far, has been that rear scatter shield plate. It is super hard. I forgot that. I didn't even know it was on there. So then I struggled trying to figure out why I couldn't break the transmission loose. It's because it was hung up on the flywheel. And then trying to get it back on is very hard, especially if you're by yourself, because you have to hold it like level with one hand while trying to put the bolt in, and it's hard. You use a 1/2-inch socket on it, but I'm telling you, dude, I had probably about 3.5 hours trying to get that plate back on. And it was like, I had to find my zen to do it. So I would suggest, before you tighten it up all the way, before, like, you get the transmission or get the bell housing like on the locators, the studs, and then break it in to about an 1/8 inch. Don't button it all the way up yet. Then put that plate on, because that'll give you some wiggle room to make sure it's flush and level. Because if it's off kiltered, you won't be able to get it back. If trust me on this, do that plate before you bolt it on hard. Get it on there with your fingers. It's going to take you some time. If you got a buddy that can hold the other side up while you try to find the bolt, that's even better. So anyway, there's that. We are going to put some new fuel lines in today. That's what we got going on. And the other ones, they've been on here since 2008. I figured might as well just do it since you got it all taken apart. And then we're gonna go back to the reassembly, and I hope everything, and one thing too, I will say that by doing this project myself, I mean, I did save some money. They wanted like, I mean, close to $4,000 to do it. Honestly, if I had to do it again, I could probably do it in like 3 days. I'm really going through everything nice and easy now. So the good thing about it is I really learned a lot about this boat doing this. And so that's the good news. If it happened again, or if I ever had to change a transmission again, I could do it myself. Like I know I could. And it's not that, you know, it's just, it is what it is, dude. I don't want to do it, but I don't have to take it to a boat shop to do it, and they're going to charge me crazy amounts of money. So there is that part. And then plus, like I said, when I'm doing it, I know it's going back together correctly. The boat shop that I paid a lot of money to have a motor put in didn't tighten the bottom transmission bolts. I mean, even when I had it, the motor wasn't aligned. They didn't even tighten the bolts that are on the 4 adjustments. Those weren't tight. So I know that when this goes back together, it's going to be good. I did put the prop in, and I checked it all the way around. I got within 3,000ths clearance all the way around as it's kind of snugged up. So I just know that when it goes back together, it's going to be right. So that's a big part of it. One thing that's nice is without the seat here, I'm really able to like organize the wires and all the fuel line going in, right? Because before, people were trying to do it with the seat in and all that stuff, so it really doesn't get done correctly. So at least this way, you might as well, while you have the back seat off, just get everything as tricked out as best you can. You know what I mean? So, all right, well, there it is. We had a full day of using the boat with the new damper plate put in, installed by me, saved myself what did they want? They wanted $4,000. I probably would have been about $4,500 by the time it's all said and done. Said I was gonna have to replace the motor, pull the motor out. That's not the case. You absolutely do not have to do that. You just have those the brackets on the left and the right. You just get yourself as you saw in our video, a little winch will pull that up, or a little ratchet will pull that up. Super easy. It's not as heavy as you think. And then pulling out the V-drive is the easiest thing. You could do that. That would be an easy thing. If you're ready to replace your V-drive, you don't have to really do much. Sliding the fuel cell back or forward, I didn't have to remove it. That's really good. And I had just enough room to do it, as you saw in the video, once I took the handles off, right? So yeah, I'm pretty excited. There's no more ting, 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 ting coming out of the bell housing. That is an indication that your damper plate is probably bad and it could cut loose. You definitely want to get that replaced. And as you saw, the damper plate that we replaced it with had, the springs are encapsulated in this little steel container. They're not like, you can't visibly see the spring, right? So the other one, you couldn't really see that it was damaged, but it was. You could hear it like when it was going, right? And now you can't. So I think that's a newer style they put on them, so the spring doesn't just cut loose and, you know, get hammered up on inside the bell housing. Like I said in the video, if you saw, the hardest thing to do to me was that damn plate behind. There is a plate, and that I struggled with, like on the bell housing. That is probably the hardest thing, getting those bolts back in there. Aside from that, I think anybody can do it. You just have to go through it methodically. That means, like, I would try to do it with little goals, right? So the first day you do it, I would say, okay, today, all I'm gonna do is take apart the rear upholstery. That's it. And then the next day you say, okay, today I'm moving the fuel cell back. That's all I'm gonna do is get in there and move the fuel cell back and take the V-drive out. And then after that, you know, then to say, okay, now we're gonna pull the transmission. So, and make sure you really number your wires so you can get them all back together correctly. It's like, dude, they're hard. I actually had that mess up. I had a mess up, even though I even labeled them, and I still had a mess up. So really make sure that you label those correctly, seriously. Aside from that, it's not the hardest thing in the world to do. It's not the funnest thing to do, but if you want to save yourself $4,000, dude, you tell me, dude, that's a lot of money, right? So anyway, there you go, a quick look at the damper plate. I know I didn't take the boat and show you a bunch of videos going on the lake. There's no reason to do that, but I did want to give you my overall assessment of installing it. And there's not very many videos out there doing this. So anyway, there you go, a little look at replacing the damper plate on a Malibu boat.